Imagine being a Panthers fan in 2024 watching that horrendous defense, only to miss a top 100 NFL player along with a top 20 edge rusher, and to have him replaced by a guy who can stay healthy and only average 4 sacks through 8 games. Well, I'm here to tell you why that's still the right move and why numbers do lie. Welcome back to the channel. This is 1995 The Roar. Channel for the fans, by a fan. Restoring the roar. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and most importantly, comment. That helps out with the algorithm and engagement. We're doing good. We're growing, so thank you for that. Today, we're here to talk about DJ Wonnum. What does year 2 look like? And has he been a success in following the footsteps of Brian Burns? Or is it time to give up on him? With that being said, let's transition to our first segment, the first roar. In today's first roar, we're here to talk about the outside linebacker / edge rusher, DJ Wonnum, and also the correlation between him and Brian Burns. Let me start with DJ Wonnum. A lot of people feel like they want to give up on him because he wasn't as impactful as most people would have hoped. Also, we know he was coming off an injury with a torn quadricep at the end of last year, so we knew that he wasn't going to be healthy right away. The main reason why I wanted to talk about this subject is there's a lot to do about this linebacking unit. I see a lot of podcasters and other individuals believing that this linebacking core is one of the worst in the league. And I got to say, for the veterans that are on this team at that position, you got Wonnum, you got Rosenboom, you got Jossie Jewell. Yeah, it's a lot less to be desired. But what I will say is DJ Wonnum is not somebody you should sleep on. A lot of you guys are asking what happened to Wonnum. Well, Wonnum was coming over from a quadriceps surgery after tearing it last year in 2023, and he had multiple setbacks, more setbacks than you would believe, including internal stitches not healing properly, which led to infection, MRSA, which led to blood clots, which led for him being hospitalized and having to take antibiotics. This goes beyond the game, right? So it's hard for me to imagine somebody dealing with that, trying to have their mind and body ready for football. So you have to be careful when you give somebody a connotation as a bust or a player who didn't live up to standards. Even with that being said, him playing in 8 games, he pretty much hit his metric for half the season, which he's, an 8-sack man. He had 4 sacks in 8 games. So the metrics add up to where if he played, 17 games, he's probably right at it or slightly above it. DJ Wonnum is a guy who is reliable and dependable when it comes to edge rushing. The biggest nod I have to give to DJ Wonnum is this: what he had did as far as the cap room. A lot of people wanted Brian Burns to be here not just because he's a phenomenal athlete, but because he's a fan favorite. But DJ Wonnum's contract so friendly, and the fact that his ceiling, the potential is there, made room for us to land potentially what can be 2 top 10 edge rushers in Nick Scorton and Prince Umanley. So don't discount what he has done in the contract room and off the field. Panthers moving on from Brian Burns were met with high scrutiny, not only because he was a player who was considered a cornerstone of this defense, but the fact that we passed up on 2 really good deals when it comes to getting the value for the trade. But ultimately, Brian Burns has been doing what Brian Burns does. He's still been putting up great edge rushing numbers, still getting after the quarterback, and still being a mid-level sack artist. But ultimately, when it comes to the price, it just wasn't feasible. Moving on from Brian Burns not only helped for us to get Nick Scorton and DJ Wonnum and Prince Umanley, but it also helped for Bryce Young to get weapons on his team, as far as Xavier Legette and McMillan down in the future. So when you look at it, don't look at it just for numbers. Numbers can lie, right? I think that they did the right move, and I think the future is bright for the Panthers team. I love Brian Burns. I met his family, met his brothers, a lot of his people in there, good man. But ultimately, it just wasn't feasible. And at the end of the day, what his production has led to has not been the wins, has not met the playoffs. In New York or in Carolina. So I think the Panthers made the right move. Let's take a little deeper dive into the next segment called the CAT Scan. Today's episode of the CAT Scan, I really want to lay out a plan for why I honestly believe in DJ Wonnum. DJ Wonnum is a 6'5", 250-pound edge rusher, and he's also 27 years old, same age as Brian Burns. The things that he can do are extremely gifted. I mean, being that big, he's able to rush the pass rusher, use those arms to bat down balls. He also has an elite, and I mean elite, IQ and recognition of how to attack angles on the offensive line. What does that essentially mean is when an offensive line overpass sets or if the split's too tight, knowing how to implement stunts. These are things that you have to pay attention to when you're being an edge rusher or defensive lineman at an elite level. He finds ways to use his strengths against the other team's offensive line when it comes to executing at a high level. Not only is his IQ there, but he also has physical gifts such as hand grip and elite placement when it comes to finding out whether to implement tactics such as bull rushing or speed rushing or finesse moves like that. Add that with a high motor, the ability to chase down running backs from behind or chase quarterback around in the pocket, you got yourself with an elite edge rusher with a high upside. No, he's not a spring chicken, but he still has something left to offer. My number one reason why you shouldn't give up on DJ Wonnum is this: Derrick Brown. Who? That big man, that big bad man. I personally know him, his family. Shout out to his mom. And I got to tell you, man, DJ Wonnum and Derrick Brown is a scary combination. If you look up on your screen right here, you'll see Brian Burns when he had his best season in his career. Not just with the Panthers, but in his career. He had over 12.5 sacks. The correlation between Derrick Brown's influence to help him get those sacks are unanimous. Derrick Brown had 5 hurries that season, 10 quarterback knockdown, 5 batted down balls, 1 sack, and over 67 combined tackles. Coincidence? When you have an elite defensive lineman such as Derrick Brown, it transitions to other people having opportunity, mainly your linebacker and edge rusher. Another example is this. If you look on your screen, you'll see Derrick Brown when he had his Pro Bowl year. Had 2 sacks, 1 interception, and had over 103 tackles. Because of that, Brian Burns was able to get his average sack total of 8 sacks. My point is this: Derrick Brown was MIA last year due to an injury, unfortunately, and DJ Wonnum could have greatly benefited from that. He had 4 sacks in 8 games. So imagine what he would have had if Derrick Brown stayed healthy. Imagine if he played the entire season, DJ Wonnum being. So I like to believe with his veteran leadership, his high motor, his athleticism, his ability to understand how to set up blocks and how to fight across them with those hand grips, push, pull, dip, rip, you know what I mean, spin moves, and an array of moves that he does have, in combination with Derrick Brown, I'm like to believe those totals will go up. It's proven. This is not opinion. This is proven. Elite edge rushers have big guys in front of them that take off the brunt of the blockers, okay? One of the worst things about this defense last year was the linebackers were getting contacted way too much, okay? Everybody makes a lot to do about nothing, about the linebackers not helping out against the run game. Well, although DJ Wonnum is big and strong, I mean, he's not big and strong to the tune of a 350-pound lineman or 330-pound lineman. You see what I'm saying? Keep your linebackers clean, and you'll see they'll make you look real good. And that's something Derrick Brown will do. Second point, and why I believe DJ Wonnum will still be a factor, and something not to sleep on, is he showed up when big-time games came around. Believe it or not, man, despite him missing X amount of games, the 8 games he did play in, he had an impact in the key ones. If you look on your screen here, Arizona Cardinals, he had a total of 3 pressures and 1 sack, okay? If you look at the Eagles game, he had 5 total tackles, 4 pressures, 1 sack. Kansas City Chiefs game, 5 quarterback pressure, 1 sack. In the New York Giants, the primetime game over in Germany, had a total of 6 tackles and also 1 sack. The bottom line is this: the real difference between him and Brian Burns is he shows up in big moments, and that's no disrespect at all. You know, I remember going to Bryce Young's first ever NFL game. A lot of people say, I hate Bryce Young, but guess what? I was there in his first NFL game, and I got the receipts to show it. The difference between him and Brian Burns is he actually shows up in big game, all right? When I was at the Falcons game, Brian Burns, he had a heck of a first half. I think he had 2 sacks And then the rest of the game, he essentially, I think he was up in the seat next to me, or he was at the concession stand. I think he was at the concession stand. But the problem is you don't need a pass rusher that's going to be a part-time pass rusher or a numbers chaser, right, just to get paid. And I respect the coin, but at the end of the day, the goal is to win the game. And for what he was able to do against a real bad defense, against a defense that allowed for offensive linemen to contact these linebackers that had a high rate, at a defense that wasn't able to stop nothing up front, the big games, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Cardinals, the Giants, he was there. He had an impact, influencing it one way or another. So that is encouraging to me. He still was able to do his job, although it may not be to the tune of a full 17-game season. The fact that he was out there showing you a flash of what he could do. And if I like to believe like you like to believe, I think this defense may have been slightly upgraded up front with Treshaun Wharton, you Bobby Brown, and you got Derrick Brown as always. So he has help now. So I'm telling you, man, y'all going to really regret it. And no disrespect to Brian Burns, man, but I think this guy's upside is big, at least for this year. And my last but not least reason why I believe in DJ Wonnum is he's not going to need to do it by himself, okay? At the end of the day, I still think he's fantastic, but let's not kid ourselves. He is just a little bit more older, and he's coming off injuries. But at the end of the day, this team was more so designed for him to be a leader and also to have not necessarily do it all by himself. You got Nick Scorton, who I absolutely love, who was ranked the number 3 pass rusher out of this previous class. Over 14 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 18 pressure. That was 3rd coming out of college behind my Georgia Bulldog, Mikael Williams, all right, and James Pierce. So with that being said, you got Nick Scorton, you got Pat Jones, you got Prince Umanley. I mean, although I still trust and believe in him, when you have pressure from these young bucks, okay, and you got a top 10 talent on this defense, he's more so going to be in a teaching/training role, more like an owner-operator, you know what I mean, when it comes to truck drivers. So he still will have his impact, but when you have guys that are coming up under you who still, or I think, you know, mainly more athletic, you know what I mean, Wonnum's not necessarily the most athletic. He's big, he's strong, he doesn't necessarily have that athleticism, you know, that bend like Brian Burns once had or still does have, you know what I mean? But Nick Scorton and Manley does have the athlete. They're young dogs, right? So you're teaching them, putting them in position more so of a mentor role. They're gonna eat, and you're gonna eat because of that. So that's the benefactor of that. You take less pressure off of him. Guess what? He has more production. You give me DJ Wonnum's IQ. You give me his size and strength to be able to play in the dirt or standing up. You give me the fact that Derrick Brown is coming back and the impact that he has had on edge rushers when he's at 100% optimization. And then you give me the fact that he's surrounded by good, young talent. I'm looking at a guy who's rejuvenated, a guy who's motivated, a guy who's going into his contract year with something to prove. And as you know, just like everyone else know, guys who are on contract year tend to overperform. Look at what Huber did last year on the opposite side of the ball. I don't think this is no different. Expect for a huge year out of DJ Wonnum. And that's it for today's CAT scan. Let's go on to our next segment, the Paul Report. All right, on today's episode of Paul Report, we don't really have much news for you. As I said once before, we're literally just waiting for training camp so we can give you all the nitty gritty in between roster updates, who's battling for what position, and much more. But what I do have for you today is a couple news articles around the Carolina Panthers. Let's talk about Deadspin.com. According to Deadspin.com, the Carolina Panthers ranked 24th when it comes to quarterback ranking Bryce Young. Now, I purposely haven't done a Bryce Young video, and no disrespect, a lot of you guys aren't mentally able to handle my takes. So if I really were to kind of dive into the numbers and dissect the play, a lot of you guys, I already seen some of you guys crying, you hate Bryce, even though I showed you numbers. Now I got to show you film to support those numbers. I guess it's not enough. And although numbers can and do lie at times, film doesn't. So maybe I got to do that. But ultimately, him ranking 24th, look, I have Bryce fatigue. You know, they got other fatigues out there, but I'm Bryce fatigue, man. You know, we're talking about a guy who's literally going into, his fifth year, and has yet to make the playoff. I'm watching C.J. Stroud, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels come in first year. I'm watching C.J. Stroud make it 2 years back to back. I don't know what else to say. I just don't know what else to say, man. At this point, I don't care if he's ranked number 1 or number 24 or 32. I just want to win. And yeah, so it's good to know. At the end of the day, he had weapons last year. He had Xavier Legette. He had 2 big offensive linemen, Damian Lewis, Hunt, Keem McQuan, coming around. I guess it's the defense fault. I don't know. At this point, results got to happen. They got to happen quickly. But do I care that he's ranked 24th? How do you feel about him being ranked 24th? Is that fair? Is that too high? Is that too low? And are you emotionally sensitive when it comes to Bryce Young takes? Let me know in the comment section. Last but not least, my only thing I got for you is, according to Sports Nation, they ranked the breakout player of the year or candidates for the Carolina Panthers and the other teams, and they believe that Jalen Croker will be the breakout year candidate. And let me tell you this, Jalen Croker is not a bad option for breakout player of the year. In that young receiving room, when it comes to T-Mac, when it comes to Legette, when it comes to Croker, Jimmy Horn, yeah, I mean, listen, he has showed you he can make some plays. Now, the only drawback far as Croker is this. A lot of his big yardage game have come in blowouts, right? When the game is mean. So is the stat stuff in, or is he truly that good? I went back and looked at games where we actually were winning or in meaningful games. His numbers were low. So I don't know if that was by design or scheme, or maybe he wasn't getting open. I don't know exactly what it was, but the potential and talent's there. My breakout player of the year is, I'm going to stick with who I've been saying, DJ Wonnum. All right, so I'm sticking with him. It's not a fluke. I think this guy is ready to blow. Derek Brown stay healthy. As long as that happens, the correlation between his numbers going up and him having a breakout year will be there. That's all I got for you guys on today's Paul Report. Now, stick around for the last segment, the last growl. Good show today, right? Good show. Let's give it a clap. Good show today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I convinced you guys why DJ Wonnum was the smart pick as far as replacing Brian Burns. And although he wasn't necessarily healthy all year long and necessarily the best productive, why he can and will be productive this year. But before I go any further to wrap this up, let me take my hat off. I want to say this. And I hate that I have to spend my last segment like this, but I'm talking to the people out there who have seen me on other platforms, who have seen me on my other channel. And you're coming over here and you're still negative. You still feel some kind of way. You still hate my takes. You still hate who I am. You still want to blame game. All that stuff. This is the last time I'm going to address it. And it's the only time I'm going to address, and the last time I'm going to say this. I'm going to apologize to you. Look, from the bottom of my heart. If my takes hurt you emotionally, I apologize. If my show or whatever else in the past may have hurt you, I apologize. That's all you're getting out of it, okay? At the end of the day, I'm not who you think I am. I'm starting off new. I'm building something new. I'm establishing something new. I don't want any negative activity or any negative energy trying to poison my new followers or anybody else, okay? So at the end of the day, if you feel like you can't forgive me or can't forget or blame me or you hate my taste, you think I'm stupid, I'm fat or whatever, please, they have a button up there that says not interested. Click it and keep it moving. And you will be blocked. I'll help you so you won't come back. Do not bring that negative energy over here, okay? I'm not on that time. There's a lot of different podcasts you can go, be stupid, and, all kind of other stuff you want to do. You know what I mean? My takes are strictly mine to have, just as your opinion about me is yours to have. But at the end of the day, I'm not following you. I'm not following you across YouTube, reminding you of everything, all right? So at the end of the day, this is a big platform. Find you somebody else to play with, all right? Shout out to you guys. Now, with that being said, man, today's final last growl here, I'm going to say DJ Wonnum is going to be something special in this defense here, especially with the additions of the two rookies we got here, Scorton, Princely. You got Pat Jones in help, and you also got Bozeman, a savvy veteran, along with the returning Jossie Jewell. Although Brian Burns did have a good, decent career in Carolina, the benefits of his contract that DJ Wonnum was able to give us cap freedom to where we were able to sign Hunt, Lewis, or we were able to draft Legette, T-Mac, and so much more. Although it hasn't panned off immediately, sometimes you just got to trust the process. And I'm believing in year 2, contract year, will be beneficial. Along with the additional help and Derrick Brown returning, this defense may be something to watch out for. All right. I'm your host, El Grande Gato, also known as the Big Cat. My cool cat, put your paws up if you rock with the Big Cat. This is 1995, The Roar, and this is a channel for the fans, by the fans, okay? Make sure you subscribe. Follow me on X too, right? I just started a new account on X called 1995 The Roar. Follow me on Instagram, 1994 The Roar on X, all right? Shout out to my 95ers. Make sure you sub up. Tell a friend, share, man. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers. Can't wait to see you guys. Peace.